what a day! What a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you're new to this channel, or you've not done so already, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support this channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they're live, and there's also a PayPal link in the info box below the video once it's rendered. But most importantly, if you would like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching. Then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the shape of the Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel. So please share the show. And one last time, if you're new to the channel or you have not done so already, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. Now we are joined by John, Sleeping Warrior, Chocolate Saiyan, and Arwin. How are you all?
Yo, yo.
You.
Good evening.
Oops. Turn me phone down.
Vámonos. Vámonos, muchachos.
Hola. Good to have you. Should we do a bit of housekeeping? Any signs of curve, gentlemen?
I'm not going to mention Chris Monk again.
Well, no, I don't mind you mentioning Chris Monk, because if Chris Monk's got evidence of curvature that he feels beyond explaining curvilinear perspective, again, which I've heard the audience hasn't, then, you know, I'd like it presented. You know, I hope Chris does rejoin. Now he's got a new bally attitude. He's a good guy to talk to, and all are welcome to express their views, Chris included. You know, it makes no difference what side of the fence he sits. If he's got an opinion on curvature, hopefully he'll join and tell us.
To be honest, the only thing I want to talk to him about is that the gyroscopes point. It's the only thing that's like not been said before. It's new. I want to hear what he's got to say about it.
Yeah, me too. I asked him on Skype, and it's just like, what is this? Is this real? Have we tested? Has any of us basically tested this, or is this a myth? The whole gyroscope thing turning on its own. I don't know.
I mean, so what you're saying is the most interesting part is the affirming the consequent formal logical fallacy that's being formed around gyroscopes currently.
Yes.
Yes.
I'm simply not convinced that they do actually turn on their own. I know they turn when abrupt forces are applied to them, like sudden turns, very strong turns. I know that. That's what that pendulous vane thing was designed for, to correct for that. But other than that, this is the first time I heard that supposedly a gyroscope will actually slowly turn by itself. I haven't seen any evidence for this yet. So,
well, that leads nicely into the next question, which is any signs of axial rotation?
Well, this would be a first, but no.
Anthony?
No.
Nope.
I'm bored of saying Chris Monk.
Well, you've got to mention it. You just did. You just did say Chris Monk. So what's Chris Monk got in terms of axial rotation, Anthony? Do you know?
He thinks that gyroscopes align. He thinks that he thinks that the fiber optic gyroscope shows that the Earth is rotating. That's the point we're on, isn't it? That the Earth rotates. Yeah.
Okay. Well, we've gone over it already. Affirming the consequent. Any signs of a self-perpetuating molten iron core at the center of a presupposed sphere Earth?
That's a lot of presuppositions.
Well,
Anthony?
I've been having a conversation with George Nathan Oakley, and basically he believes it's true, but has no evidence. And when asked for the evidence, he claims that he doesn't profess to know that much about it, despite saying a very clear statement in one of Nathan's hangouts about how it's such a dead-end topic that there's no point in talking about it. And he can mention Ampere's law and that Boyd-Sievert law. And I'm like, oh, really? So on the one hand, you're now claiming that you don't know that much about it. You know, you don't profess to be an expert. But here's a comment from Nathan's chat where it sounds like you're trying to profess to be an expert. And what was that guy's name again? Brian Mull. I can't remember his name, but didn't you criticize somebody for doing the exact same thing that you're doing right now, which was professing to be an authority on something that you know absolutely nothing about, yet believe the nonsense that you proclaim to be true and pass it on to everybody else in chat as though it's acceptable? Yet you criticize Brian Mullin for doing the same thing, and it's like, that seems to be a double standard to me. Seems a little bit hypocritical. So on the one hand, he claims that the Boit-Sievert law and the Ampere's law proves that there is an electrical current created by a self-perpetuating molten iron core. But on the other hand, when he's asked for evidence, he backs down very quickly and reminds me that he's not an expert on this and that the science of the Earth is not a well accepted fact. It's a theory. But in chats, he makes out to people that he actually knows what he's talking about. So I'm calling bullshit, and I'm saying that you're a liar, George. You tell people that lies that you believe to be true, have no evidence for, and then back away from the minute you're asked to produce evidence for it. And then he accuses me of like vilifying him and like this some kind of witch hunt thing against him to slur his name. Well, stop talking nonsense in chat about stuff you know nothing about, claiming that it's true, and I won't do that. I have no problem with you personally, George. I think you've made some bad errors in judgment against what's his face, Brian Mullin. However, you're claiming that there's a perpetuating, self-professing nonsense molten iron core, but you can't prove that molten iron does what you say it does. And I've given you evidence that shows that it doesn't do it. I've given you evidence that shows that it requires an external source. But in your model, there is no evidence of an external source because it doesn't exist. There's no claim for an external source. It doesn't exist. Yet you still tell people that there is a molten iron core. And I don't agree with that. I think that's nonsense. So that's the answer to that one.
Any signs of a pressurized system next to a... Oh, was someone about to add something to a self-perpetuating molten iron core before I move on?
Well, for me, the entire concept is completely superfluous because it is supposed to be like that because that is what causes the magnetic fields on the Earth. And that by itself is just ridiculous. So it's just completely irrelevant. Even if there was supposedly some kind of molten layer or core, or however you want to see it, it's just, it's irrelevant.
I don't think superfluous is the right word there.
Or irrelevant. Sorry.
Irrelevant. Well, it's non-evidential. They claim that something exists that clearly there's no evidence for. I remind myself of the deepest hole that anybody's ever dug, and it was the super deep coal borehole in northern Russia somewhere. They went down about 8 miles, 12 kilometers or so. And the only thing that they got out in any volume was it was boiling hydrogen mud. That was how it was described. They didn't get any evidence of iron. They didn't get any evidence of anything that they thought to get down there based on seismology predictions. And that's the only evidence that they've got digging deep into the Earth's crust. And they don't really know anything below that point. They've got these things called projections and these things called seismographs and seismological spectroscopy claims. But the reality is, until they actually do it, they don't know what's down there. And I don't think they can get any deeper than what they do.
But Milo had such great proof. Milo had such great proof. There were scans made, and there was actually iron found in the deep soil. It's such fantastic evidence.
Based on a scan, yeah?
Yeah, there was iron there. So that, of course, means that there's a molten iron core there because they found some iron.
No, they've scanned for iron.
No, but...
Hello?
Hey, Renty.
Hey, Ranty.
I was making a joke.
He's in the chat. He's called you a liar.
Pardon?
Anthony. George is in the chat and he's called you a liar.
Join the panel, George. Let's
No, please, no.
Seriously, George, join the chat and we'll go through the Skype chat that we've just had and we'll see who's lying. I challenge you. Join the chat, George. Let's sort this out man to man, based on evidence, based on the Skype chat we've just had, and how many times you ran away from it when I called you that you had no evidence for your claims. So join the chat. Let's see what comes of it. See who's telling the truth.
Is it specifically molten iron core, just because that's the part we've got up to on housekeeping? Because if so, I'll rattle through the rest.
Self-perpetuating molten iron core, the evidence that shows that this thing is... You can't even prove that molten iron has got a charge, let alone that it self-perpetuates, right? It can't show anything. So I'm calling you on it, George. You are full of rubbish. So join the panel. We'll go through the Skype conversation, and we'll see how many times you backed down when I asked you for evidence, and we'll see how many times you tried to obfuscate the point with claiming science and theories that you accept based on logic and reason, but when pushed to it, to prove it, there was no evidence, and you backed away from it at least 4 times. Join the panel, George. Let's see what comes of it.
Well, here's what
Okay.
he said.
I just want sorry, Ranty. I just want to rattle through the rest of the housekeeping because we always get halfway through and not complete it. So, any signs of a pressurized system next to a vacuum / a pressure system without a container?
Scott Veach claims that a NASA costume will protect him from a vacuum. So let's look forward to Scott Veach sorting that out for us, because Daddy was an astronaut, so he should be able to get a pressurized suit and get into a vacuum chamber. And I look forward to watching his eyeballs get sucked out of his head.
I've said it before,
It's
and
still
I'll say
not
it
proof.
again. It's not proof, correct, Darwin?
No, but it gives credibility to the notion that they could exist in space if it was really a vacuum.
No, it gives credibility to the NASA costume department only.
Let's just see. Well,
That they actually designed it for what it was supposed to be able to do.
to be honest, I'm past the point of caring what it may or may not prove. What I
You just want to
prove is
see
that
M. Scott Veach's eyeballs sucked out of his head, basically. Okay, you're right. Actually, on second thoughts, it might be very good evidence. You just don't know, do you, till they do it? Anyway, any signs of R?
George.
No? No? Anybody?
No.
Anybody? Fair enough.
Nope.
I put some
What about-
sticks in the ground, and then I knew, yeah. the
That
Earth
requires a
has ra- has to
presupposition,
have a
Owen.
radius.
Yeah, it just requires presupposing that you're on a sphere before you do any measurements, so that doesn't really count. That's begging the
Hey,
question.
I had a good one. Somebody said, if R, then big G. Big G, therefore R.
Oh,
yeah,
brilliant.
that's good.
That's the most ram-packed, condensed, concise, affirming the consequent, begging the question, crap sandwich you could have. That's brilliant. Right, let's last but not least it with gravity. Anybody seen any signs of that?
No signs of gravitational pull or the bending of space-time.
No way. Somebody must have done it.
What? You don't see bending of space-time all over the place, man?
Nope, definitely not. But if you can show it me,
Only
man.
when you smoke a lot of weed. And I don't do
You
that
gotta
these
put-
days. So.
Yeah, pass me what you spoken. I don't see any bending in space-time.
Nathan, you know when you say if P, what's the thing you say with P and Q? If P,
If P then Q, Q therefore P. If I eat 10 hamburgers, I am full, therefore I ate 10 hamburgers.
Hello,
Hi,
James.
Hey, how's it going?
Good to have
let's
you.
paraphrase that. If
What's up,
George,
James?
then complaint too bored. Complaint too bored. Therefore, George.
Right, exactly. The one doesn't necessarily follow the other.
Wonder how true that comment would be there. So basically, if they're going to argue that, then therefore George must have complained to the board, right?
Well, yeah, sort of. The way you formulated it would be to say that if there's a complaint made, it's George, and therefore, if George, therefore complaint made, just flip it around the other way. In other words, all complaints
But did
down
he
to George.
really? I think he mostly just spread rumors. And that's bad enough on its own.
Well, he says on the one hand that he didn't make any formal complaint because Arwin asked him the direct question, did you make any formal complaint? And the answer was no. Yet he did state that the board did not see flat Earth as something to jeopardize his professional career. Now, how would he know that? Because I don't believe that they would tell him that freely without him having a filed complaint to see whether or not there was anything in it. Because they wouldn't let that go. That would be an invasion of Brian's privacy, right?
I don't think he actually said flat Earth. He basically said that what the panel was supposedly saying was that
Hey,
the
Pete.
panel
Hold on
didn't
a second,
think.
Darwin. Hold on. Hey, Pete.
We need to get this back door checked, Darwin.
Yeah, I don't think Pete's a real person.
All right.
Okay. Hopefully
So
you've not
what he
all been
said was
sniped.
basically that the panel was not interested in Brian Mullen's YouTube activities. He
But
didn't
how would he
actually
know that?
mention flat Earth, from what I remember.
Yeah, but how would he know that, though, if there wasn't a complaint? Because they wouldn't volunteer that information because it would be private, right?
That is kind of suspicious. Yes.
Unless there was an active investigation that led to a decision being made, which was either negative or positive one way or the other. He must have made the complaint unless...
No, but he could have asked, like, is there an investigation?
Hey,
And
Jose.
they did that.
Hey, Jose.
But it is weird.
It's me.
Good video earlier, mate.
It's me.
Loved your video. Shared it. Very good.
Yeah, thank you, thank you. Yeah, I was looking a lot of mirroring going on in the horizon. So yeah, I put it out there, you know.
Yeah, man. Aries diffraction at its best. Narrowing of the viewing angle. It's all there, man. Perfect. Love it.
Oh yeah. Thank you.
So is George Nathan going to join, and we'll sort this out, George? I'm looking forward to seeing your name appear in the side chat. Come on, come in. I can't guarantee that Brian Mullin's name won't get mentioned. There are many other on the panel, and it's still quite raw. But I'm more than happy to discuss this evidential burden against you for your assertion that there is a self-perpetuating molten iron core that fuels the Earth without an external source. So come on, let's see what evidence you've got, because I'm sure it won't have changed in the last 10 minutes.
I just want to make one mention of things while George is on the docket, so to speak. So, on Robbie Davidson, Celebrate Truth YouTuber, subscribe today, there was a comment from FE Mail, and I just want to read it out. What other code violations has he, meaning George, been concerned about other engineers as to make him investigate or inquire? Hey, Spurs.
Hi.
Hi.
Hear me? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yo.
It'd be interesting to know who else he is saw fit to do the same thing. Other engineers that have been, had code violations
he wouldn't
and things.
Do that, Nathan. He wouldn't do that.
Well, it just seems like, currently he's moaning about Bob Nodell and he's moaned about Brian Mullen, both of which are flat earthers. So if he can show that he's just, generally makes complaints about engineers, then, fine. But it seems like he's singling out flat earthers to me. I don't know about you guys.
To be honest, he did a response video after the hangout in which he got totally destroyed. And on the whiteboard behind his head, he had the words, Bob Nodell is a fraud. Now, whether that's true or not isn't my point. My point was it was supposed to be in response to Nathan's hangout, and Bob has got absolutely nothing to do with it whatsoever, yet he felt justified in plastering Bob Nodell as a fraud all over the whiteboard on a topic that's completely nothing to do with Bob.
It's not strictly true. Sorry, hold on. That's not strictly true. So, I think it was Ranty. Bob handed him the actual documentation that was the official engineer's code of ethics.
He didn't address that in the hangout.
Well, he brought it up on screen and we gave him it and he looked at it and it was looked at a lot. But
I mean, in the response hangout, that wasn't addressed. I don't see what the relevance of Bob Nodell being a fraud on his hangout has anything to do with the response video in Nathan's hangout, in which he did not address it in his response. I'd like to speak to George. If you're out there, George, and you're still listening, get your ass in. Let's hear what you've got to say.
Just got a message that Chris Monk got booted from FE Core. That's sad.
That was about 2 weeks ago.
You're not exactly Mr. Current Affairs, are you, Owen?
Yeah, sorry, I'm not very up to date with the movement.
Owen, do you remember it happened when Ranty was? It happened in Globusters about 2 weeks ago, nearly 2 weeks ago today.
Oh, okay. Well,
you're talking about what Spurs just posted in Skype, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I just read that too. Spurs, you there, bro?
Stop it.
Yes. Good afternoon.
Yeah, that what you just posted, that's recent or?
Nah, it's 2 weeks old. Spurs hasn't been keeping up to date with the flat Earth debate, have you, Spurs?
No, some people don't know, are not aware of what's happening, as you've just heard from Martin.
Well, it appears that there are two hot topics at the moment. There's the fallout between Bob and Antonio that's simmering, which I'm hoping Bob does absolutely nothing about and doesn't get engaged with in any way whatsoever. And there's also the one that you're talking about that Chris has been kicked out of FE Core. And I want to know why. I want to know what the argument was about. I want to know what the evidence was to support one decision over the other, or one interpretation over the other. And I want to know why it is that he got kicked, because ultimately, whether he's right or wrong, surely he's got the ability to decide what the evidence should be without prejudice. Isn't that the whole point of FE Core? Without prejudice discussions, telling the truth, being fully transparent. I'm sure that's what it's supposed to be about.
It is field engineers as opposed to flat Earth, so maybe you're right.
Has no one requested to kind of speak to Chris?
Yeah, I've spoke to Chris, and he basically said that Bob's holding back information. And I don't want to stir the shit pot here, but the claim is that Bob's withholding information, and Bob's answer is we haven't finished testing it, let alone produce the information or the data. So I want to know what the argument was. I want to know what's supposed to have happened. I want to know what both interpretations were, what the evidence for both interpretations were, and I want to know whether there is missing evidence and whether or not it's being suppressed. Because if it's out there, it's out there. We want to know it, right? That's the whole point.
Well, this will come out in the wash, won't it? Surely.
I don't know. I'm hoping so. I have asked Bob if he'll address it, but his answer was, well, I will do, but at the moment, we're doing a lot of testing on this thing because it's expensive and we want to get value for money out of it. And, I understand that, but equally, it's been 2 weeks now and Chris has been, like, really, in my opinion, he's been pretty decent and he's not overreacted. He's not been doing hate videos. He's not been bitching about anybody. Yeah, okay, he disagrees. And yeah, okay, he's got an issue with being kicked out. But ultimately, he's behaving pretty well, considering. And I know that a lot of other flat earthers in them conditions or similar conditions wouldn't behave nearly as well. I think the guy's behaved pretty well. I think his claim is to be investigated.
That depends how you kind of, you look at it. I mean, the Globers are seeing this as, it's not how I see it, but they're seeing it as the flat Earth kind of dismantling. He was referred to as the flat Earth Galileo, and it's like they're saying he was our go-to guy, and well, this is the backlash of,
well, isn't it funny how much credit they'll give him now because it suits them, but when he was doing the credible work, he was dismissed with ridicule.
I must have been off of that memo. I didn't get that.
It's all just a bunch of political maneuvering. It's
to be honest,
ridiculous.
To be honest, it doesn't matter what the ballers think. What matters is
exactly.
Well, it doesn't. They're trying to claim that people who were adamant it's flat are now jump ship, and I think they're looking for small victories or small celebrations of some kind, and but I've said it's not a matter of urgency by any means.
Wake me up when it's over.
Yeah, it's not urgent by any means. Nothing for
going into hibernation, John.
The only urgency, in my opinion, is that it stops the Antonio fallout being main news, because I'm not interested in that. I'm more interested in what the argument between FE Core and Chris was that got Chris kicked out. I want to know what the issue was. I want to know Chris's version of it. I want to know their counter to it. And I want to see the evidence for myself so that we can make our own minds up based on that information. Okay, I get that it's not finished yet, but it's going to be finished relatively soon, I hope. And I hope that FE Core are public with that information.
Is it actually... Is this public? I mean, no offense to you, Anthony, but what business is it of yours?
In what respect?
Well, FE Core's nothing to do with you, is it?
Well, he's public about on Facebook. He's public about the reasons.
George,
so.
Is that really
you?
Look
who we got.
Hold on. Is that really you, George? Hello.
Speak up.
No, I've booted him.
It probably was, no?
No, I've kicked him. I think he would have said
him
last time he did say something immediately, so if it was you, George, I apologise. Yeah, back to the point. So I'm not trying to be combative. I'm just saying, what's it got to do with you? It's blunt, but it's just the only way I can phrase it, I'm afraid.
The truth.
What about a gyro? It's an affirming the consequent formal logical fallacy. Who cares?
Yeah, but I want to know why Chris accepts it, and I want to know whether there's any truth to the claim that it's being suppressed by Bob or others. I want to know that. I mean, yeah, that makes me a shit stir, and so be it. But I want to know
what the setup was. I want to know every detail. We already treated
the
gyroscopes a month ago or so. That was really interesting. So why would ships and planes and all these traveling devices use gyroscopes to orient themselves if this effect is actually there? It doesn't make any sense to me.
Hey, Travis.
Well, I agree with Anthony, because if Chris is saying flat earthers are withholding globe evidence, well, we want to see that. We want to know what's the problem. Something's happened to make Chris obviously say, well, that doesn't seem right, and
well, the two sides to it are Bob has said that it's not finished testing yet, which is fair enough, but it's been on for 2 weeks now. So how long is it going to be before that happens? But equally, and conversely,
that was George. George just wrote he tried to join and immediately removed.
My bad.
My point of view, my take on this is kind of I mean, Chris Monk and Bob and all them people, they're known by us, by the YouTubers and the community. But this is more of a personal, issue they have within their own, company with FP4. And I think they will speak up. Probably in Globebusters today they will mention something. Maybe not.
Listen,
but,
it's not
will happen.
It's not personal. It's totally down to the interpretation of some data that does or doesn't exist.
I understand, yeah.
On the one hand, the first part of what I said was that Bob said it's not finished yet, right? That's fine. But conversely, Chris now believes in dinosaurs again. So that kind of discredits his.
But we haven't heard in public heard from Chris or Bob themselves. I think they are going to speak up. They are going to set up something and explain what is going on. We should kind of hang on and lay back, not make too many speculations. I mean, we can comment on it, but we cannot kind of, point at who's right, who's wrong. We got to just wait on their own word,
Yeah, the two questions are, what does Chris accept to be true based on what he sees? And once he's told everybody that, then the other question is, right, because I know that part of it is that he believes that Bob's withholding some information or data or something that doesn't tell the whole truth. And I want to know what that is. Is that true? And if he is holding it back, why? Let's see what the actual data is. Let's see what the evidence is. And let's make our own conclusions based on what's going on. And I don't know the ins and outs of it, but I also realize that there's an argument, there's a story there, and based on evidence, and that's where I'm most interested in. So if there is to be a fallout between Antonio and Bob because of da-di-da-di-da, let's not have that one. Let's have the conversation about the gyroscopes, because that's much more interesting, in my opinion.
I agree.
Antonio who?
Exactly.
Ugh.
And if you interpret that as shit stirring, or then so be it. But I just want to see what the truth is. I want to see what the evidence is. I want to see what the two interpretations are, why one is wrong and why one is right, why the other one is right. And let's make our own decisions based on the evidence.
I'm more interested in information involving actual data and flat Earth or the discussion than like social squabblings.
So I'm going to make a suggestion. I haven't got the chat open, so just watch for the chat response. But George, Nathan, if I add George to a Skype conversation so that his sound gets rerouted through my PC, would that be okay?
Can you do that? Have you got a desk now?
It'll feed through my sound, won't it? Oh, hang on. No, it won't work, will it?
No, that doesn't work. That only works if he goes on Skype with Nathan. I tried that.
Look, we're gonna have to give up on George. I've kicked him out because I thought he was a troll because he didn't speak quick enough. So until the next Hangout launches, that's George can't join, unfortunately.
Because you didn't join and speak up, George. You should know the rules by now.
Yeah, it's just one of those. I'm sure he'll join a different show.
I hope he joins a different show. I'd like to see the evidence of his position, because I think
someone's cloned
his scientism.
I think someone's cloned him. I didn't actually check if it. I mean, I'm sure it is him based on the way he's talking, but I think someone's cloned George. That or it is actually.
He told me that the racist comments were not his.
I didn't think so. After looking at it, after the first time I looked at it, I was like, whatever. I don't know George. And then somebody was spamming the chat yesterday saying he's a racist, and I was like, why is somebody doing this? Let's have another look at it. And I read the text and I was like, this doesn't sound like the type of language he would use. It's just a bit off. So, I mentioned it in the chat earlier, unless it's you, I said to George, unless it's you making these racist comments about spear chuckers. And he didn't respond. I don't know. I can't imagine that being him. It just doesn't, he just doesn't strike me as that type of person.
I agree.
But there we go. That's just my take on it.
Still believes that molten iron can self-perpetuate its own charge and therefore magnetize the whole of the world without any evidence whatsoever, and he just ignores the fact that there's missing evidence. It's a shame.
In a slightly different note and a question about the horizon rising to the eye level. I got so many doubts on that because can we?
You're breaking up.
Sorry, bad weather.
Okay.
The horizon rising to eye level. Can we say where the horizon is? Exactly.
How do you mean where it is? I mean, the horizon by definition is apparent.
Yeah, apparent horizon, and can we measure it? Wolfie 6020 say it rises. He can measure it with the theodolite. Can he for sure say that's the horizon, or is just an apparent horizon? I don't know. I don't think it's the horizon.
Right, by definition, it's apparent. You don't even need to say the word apparent when you say horizon. You don't need to say apparent horizon. It's redundant.
Right, exactly.
Wolfie's just doing what Rumpus does, which is claim that you can measure the radius of the Earth with a theodolite, and you can't because the radius, the horizon, it's not actual. It's a perception. It's an apparent position. It's not actual.
Can I dare to say it's an optical anomaly, the horizon? Because we don't know exactly what it is.
Perspective, and you can't measure it.
Oh, it is an optical anomaly. It is basically the cutoff point where the air clarity in the distance no longer enables you to see what is further down the line, and simultaneously the narrowing down of the field of view, causing the apparent slant effect. So, yeah, it is always apparent.
Because I got some videos where you can see the mirroring big time. But even if you threw the line to the mirroring, I mean, in between, can we say that's the real horizon? I don't think so.
You're coming in hot, man. You blow my eardrums out every time you talk.
I'm sorry about that. No, that boom
know
is raining, thundering, but...
Hey, Nathan, could you adjust him a little bit, man?
I just did.
Thank you. If I throw a line on a mirroring image, can I say where the horizon is, or is still inconclusive?
You can't unless you can determine how far the distance is of the mirroring. Unless you have the ability to say the refraction and the mirroring that you're seeing is X miles, there's no way for you to know how far away it is.
No, but not entirely. When there is a mirror image, then basically the center point of that mirror is where the object or whatever is being mirrored is basically at.
Yeah, but
that is what we can determine through that.
Yeah, but that's just determining that you can see the object. I'm saying you can't say how far that half an inch or a quarter inch of mirroring is in miles.
No, it's just angular relations. Perspective.
Yep, completely agree, Armin. It's just the narrowing of the angle down to the point where it becomes almost nothing, and at that point you get Airy's diffraction.
Anthony.
Yo.
Are you still there? Yeah, do you think you could get George's PayPal account so I can send him some money?
For what?
I want to send George some money.
Why?
I don't think I'd be able to get that information.
All right, I want to send him some money to get him some shampoo.
That's a bit harsh, Ranty.
And also some conditioner as well, like he needs it.
Okie dokie.
Yeah, there should be a point where people decide to shave their head.
Shut that door, please. Thank you. So, where were we?
I think
we got through housekeeping.
We finished housekeeping.
Oh, we did
Are there any ballers out there with any evidence to go against our views that you haven't got any? Because the show's all about
a baller on the panel.
Who's the baller on the panel?
Well, I didn't want to say anything, but you guys brought up the pressure, no pressure system next to the pressure system, something like that, the vacuum.
Yeah, our vacuum can exist against the pressurized system without a membrane. Yeah, sure. Have you got any evidence?
Yeah, I actually got two pieces of it's a bit of a thought experiment though. You know, obviously I haven't been up there myself.
Shout out to Rune for the super chat, much obliged.
I've got some evidence of unicorn farts. Would you like to sniff? You have to,
but basically
you have to imagine it because I've never smelt them myself, but you can imagine it.
Yeah, sure. Well, you see, if you follow the logical path I show you, it would kind of describe there is no container actually. And actually, it would be exhibiting.
So logical paths are better than evidence, right?
Well, yeah. In this case, actually, it's we have for
So I
the.
want you to imagine a white horse with a horn in between its eyes and a long, flushing white mane tail.
It's a speckled unicorn. It's speckled, Anthony.
Oh, it's got speckles on it as well. And we're going to call this a unicorn. Does it exist?
Well, you know, I heard that the unicorn was the animal of Scotland, national animal.
Right. Have you got any evidence of a unicorn?
Well, just that right there.
Well, there you go. Then it's true, right?
I guess so.
Now you got evidence of mythology.
The level of evidence that you accept. You're entitled to accept it, but I call nonsense.
Sure. Well, see, with this one here, though, with the atmosphere,
it
kind of describes that it's not actually going against a pressured
wow
container. Yeah, like if you notice, like pressured containers with pressured gas inside, they're usually exerting a force that's going outward against the surface of the inside of the container. If this were a container that we're currently in, there's no outward pressure. The pressure is going downward, actually.
Well, it's not a pressure going downwards, is it? It's a density going downwards.
Well, the pressure density is going downwards, but yeah, precisely.
No, the pressure just redivides itself.
Where'd you get pressure from?
Density, man.
From the weight of the atmosphere above it, actually. If you notice, it gets much...
I like that phrase.
Yeah, it gets much less dense as it gets higher up because there's less weight.
Well, you can't have gas pressure without a container, by definition.
You would say so, but here's the second part of the...
No, he doesn't say so.
Well, no, I'm going to show you right now. That's just not true.
Excellent. Hold on. It's just said that it's not true. So demonstrate to us gas pressure without a container.
We live down here at 14 psi. Okay. I don't know if you guys know where Colorado is here in the States, but it's about 11 psi pounds per...
Didn't you say that pressure came from the weight of the atmosphere? Yeah,
that's right.
So what's giving you the pressure? Is it the weight of the atmosphere or something else?
No, it's most likely just the weight of the atmosphere above it. Because like I said, you notice that it gets smaller the higher it gets, and there's less atmosphere above it.
So what about the top? What about the top then?
Hang on.
What about the top? So at the top, what's it pressing against?
Barely anything, which is why you have numbers that are very close to zero. Even at 150,000 feet.
In order to have pressure, it's the force it exerts on the container. So you can't have it exerting a force on nothing. That's a contradiction in terms.
Well, that's not what pressure actually is defined as. It's just...
Yeah, it is. It's the force. Well, okay. What does PSI mean?
Pounds per square inch.
Inch of what? The container by any chance?
No, most likely no.
Pressure per square inch of nothing. Is that what it's measured as? How much pressure per square inch on nothing? Or on the container?
You notice the higher
just answer.
Up you get,
it's a simple... Which one? You just have to pick. Is it per square inch on nothing, or is it per square inch on the container?
It's going to be on the atmosphere, depending on what area
you're discussing. So it's per square inch of atmosphere. So you measure PSI of square inch of atmosphere. Is that how you measure it?
No, well, you can do it on the ground. You do it whatever you're using to measure this. I think you're focusing on the wrong thing.
Like in a tire, for instance. So it's per square inch on the tire, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Right, that would be a container, though, wouldn't it?
That is an example of a container, yeah.
Right. So can you show me pressure without a container, which is what you just asserted wasn't necessary?
Absolutely.
False, you said. So I've given you an example. You've agreed. We've got a tire. That's a container. And it has a pounds per square inch on the sides of the container, giving it its pressure value.
That's exactly right.
Right. So now show me that. Now show me that without the container, please.
Okay. The one we live in, and the reason I say that is because notice that there's no pressure going out against anything.
Sorry. Can we observe this containerless system from the outside of the container?
Say that one more time. I'm sorry.
Can we observe this containerless system with pressure from outside the container?
Hey Nathan, I think I
hold on,
Arwin. Example.
Arwin, can we observe this pressurized system from outside of the container?
Yeah, we can. Yeah.
How do we do that?
If you wanted to do a pick that was as recent as possible, there's a Himawari.
Sorry, that's not me doing it. I asked how we would do it. You and me on the panel. Himawari is a government propaganda piece of information.
Oh,
it's nothing
shit.
to do with us doing it and establishing. I've asked you to establish this, not the Himawari satellite, which definitely doesn't show pressure next to a vacuum.
No, you're right.
Sorry, I'll ask it just a third time. Hopefully Arwin won't cut me off at my point. So, can you show me this system from outside of the container? Can you show that?
Yeah, without going to the satellite image, then no, I don't have.
Oh,
my
right.
own
So it's
satellite
just
system.
totally incredulous then. It's just nonsense, just an assertion, right? Means nothing.
No.
So I'll go back to my original question then. Can you actually show me a pressurized system without a container? Can you show me that?
Yeah, yes, I can.
Show it me then, please. Where can you show me this?
If you go outside, once again.
We've just established that isn't outside the container, so I have no idea what at the top of the container is containing
I'm telling
it.
you how
because
you
we're inside the
logically-
container. Yeah? So that's not an example.
You remember how you described the tire?
What, the pressurized system with a container? Yeah, I definitely remember that because that's normal. That's how you get a PSI rating. That's how you get the measurement, because it's the force exerted on the container.
Yeah, depending on how you're measuring this device, but that's actually not what a pressure is defined as. It doesn't have to be a container.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, that's what the per square inch of is. The inch bit is per square inch of the container, not of nothing, as you assert. That's nonsense. It's not how much pressure per square inch of nothing. That's retarded.
It's not against nothing, but
that's what you stated. It's per square inch against nothing. That's what you asserted, dingbat.
I said it's not a container.
Yeah, that's what we're trying to get you to demonstrate, but you keep saying just go outside. Yeah?
Yeah, well, because that's the only one I can think of.
Oh, well, that's garbage, because that's the Earth itself that we're trying to prove whether or not it is a pressurized system next to a vacuum, and you're just saying just open your eyes and look out your window and just say it is.
Well, if you would have let me finish before, I was going to show you that there's no way it can be a container.
Sorry, I don't want you to show me what it can't be. I want you to actually show me a pressurized system next to a vacuum. You've already said you can't do that.
No, I can do that. I mean, you'd have to... well, I guess you would have to use data from the satellites, but...
Sorry, we've gone over this, circle jerk asshole. Why are you now asserting it again?
Well, hold on just 1 second, because...
No! Why are you now asserting that I can go to Himawari when we've already raped it?
I was going to use the data from the Grace satellites, but forget about that.
Really? The problem is the medium of the satellites is a vacuum, the thing we are discussing. So you're going to use the thing that we are actually asking for proof of, the vacuum of space, by saying the stuff in the vacuum of space, the thing you're questioning, that proves it. You idiot.
No, I just wanted to remind everyone.
Yeah, you keep going to
it's not an actual
satellites. Why are
vacuum,
you
it's
saying no? Why have you just disagreed with me? That's exactly what you've just done. You just told me Himawari. Now you're saying you want to go to different satellites. We're questioning the very medium they are in, you buffoon.
Well, then forget about the satellites. Again, I just want
Yeah, I have already forgotten about the satellites because we're questioning the medium they're in. The pressurized system of Earth next to the vacuum of space. So, can you demonstrate a pressurized system without a container? Yes or no?
Yes, and I wanted to say that the vacuum of space is not an actual vacuum. It's a near vacuum. So
irrelevant.
Well, no, it's not irrelevant.
The question is, can you show us a pressurized system next to a vacuum? You keep saying yes.
I can show if you let me finish this, but you haven't the whole time. It was my second point.
Yeah, show it me. Show it me. It's visual. I don't need any words. Put it on screen.
Okay. Let me share my screen. All right, here we go.
I'm afraid of what he's about to show.
Well, the question on the table is, can you show a pressurized system without a container? So I would hope that's exactly what we'll now see.
All right, yeah. Well, no, you didn't let me. I wanted to show you this.
Excuse me. You've said yes. You have responded in the affirmative. Shut up. I'm talking. You've responded in the affirmative 3 times when asked the question, can you show a pressurized system without a container? I've said I don't need to hear any more words. Put it on screen. Now you're telling me that I don't understand some explanation you've given or some prerequisite that you're going to insert right now. Don't say anything. Put on screen your demonstration that you've affirmed 3 times you can show us of a pressurized system without a container, please.
Okay, so you're gonna have to let me talk now because
no.
I haven't got a chance.
What
to
part
say this.
of don't verbalize it, put it on screen? Don't you understand? Are you deaf?
It's on the screen. It's
no,
on
it's
the
not.
screen.
I've got your Daffy
now
Duck idiot icon. Yeah, that's what I've got. Your Daffy Duck icon. Okay, so put it on screen. The pressurized system next to a container. Don't say anything. Put it on screen.
Okay, how does that look?
That's a chart.
Okay, great. That's what I wanted to show
not great, you complete imbecile. That's not a pressurized system next to a container. That is a chart.
No, actually it is. If you take a look at it,
no,
you notice
I want to see, listen to me, a pressurized system. That is something with gas pressure, not numbers on a chart. I want to see a gas pressure without a container. That's a very visual thing, right? Not charts.
Nathan, what you're doing right now is not being honest with your audience. I'm trying to...
Excuse me? I know what pressurized system next to a vacuum is. When I describe it, it certainly doesn't give me images of numbers on a page.
Well, then I'm sorry about...
Sorry, what part of my example with a tyre was going to be qualified with a picture of a graph? A tyre containing pressure with a container is a visual thing that everyone understands what it looks like. Now, I want you to show me the antithesis of that. The key word being show. Something that is not like a bicycle tyre that can hold pressure. You show me that, not a graph.
Yeah, Nathan, here's my second point that you never let me say.
I don't want a point. I want you to show me a pressurized system next to a vacuum. I don't want to hear you waffle.
This is me showing it to you, Nathan.
No, it's not. It's a graph. You imbecile. Yeah? If I say I can show you what I think pressure needs, which is a container, I show you a bike tyre. You say I can show it you without the bike tyre. Here's a graph. No, that's garbage.
Well, technically, you didn't show me a bike tyre. You described one.
Anybody in the audience right now, if you do not understand what a bike tyre would look like if you were to conceptualise it right now, type 2 in the chat if you are incapable of conceptualising a bike tyre to demonstrate a pressurised system with a container. If you cannot conceptualise this, type 2 in the chat now, so I can label you a retard in the chat. Now that everybody in the audience who hasn't typed 2 understands my conceptual demonstration of a bike tyre, something everybody will have experienced, I want you to show me the antithesis of that. The bike tyre, without the tyre. Show me
Nathan,
that.
This is
screen share mine. I got Ryan up so we could have a visual on that.
Do you understand what show means? That's what John's comprehended. He's comprehended what show me a pressurized system with a container is. There you go. The container is on this photograph. I'm circling it for the audience. This black circle, that's the container that I was asking people to visualize and conceptualize. Now you're showing me a graph. Show me a pressurized system without that bike tire.
Yeah. So Nathan, here we go.
Don't ask me something. Show it me.
There we go. No, sorry about that. No, Nathan, just give me a chance to say this.
Not say! Are you deaf? John only said, here, look at my screen. Then he showed a bike tyre. So say, look at my screen. Here's a pressurised system without the tyre.
Okay, Nathan. Honestly, there's a lot of numbers here. It's more than just...
I don't want numbers! Yeah, there's no numbers on this picture of a bike tyre. I don't need any numbers to understand that this is a pump putting pressure into this black circle. A container. Now I want you to show me the antithesis. Show me, not formulate. Show it to me.
I have something better for you, Nathan.
I don't want something better. There's nothing better than a picture. Everybody watching, I haven't seen a single number 2 go by. Everyone understands what it looks like with the container. I want you to show it me without the container.
I don't know the altitude of the Alps, but I'm just going to go ahead and describe Colorado here in the States, where I said it was 11 PSI. If you notice about the mile high altitude.
Excuse me. I've already destroyed this argument by asking if we can get outside of that container to observe it.
Nathan.
Not Nathan. You mean no? I've already conceded this dumbass point already on this show, and now I'm being a circle jerk asshole again by not conceding it and circle jerking you all around, giving the same example. We can't get outside of the container, and we are trying to establish this very thing, the Earth, and whether or not we have a vacuum outside of it. We can't get outside to actually have a look. Now you're saying just look out your window at Colorado because you're a buffoon.
No, look how high we can get though.
So what? Do you think how high qualifies whether or not we have a vacuum of space next to us?
No, because look at the number. If you actually took the
Not the number, dimwit. Try to open your ears and actually show me a pressurized system without a container. Show me that.
Nathan.
Not Nathan. Why'd you keep saying my name? To buy yourself a bit of time? Just show me a pressurized system without the bike tire.
Okay, Nathan.
No,
you
not
see the
Nathan.
number that
Stop
says...
saying my name. Okay? I don't need you to wear my name out. I need you to show me a pressurized system. I don't need any more words from you. I don't need you to affirm what my name is. Just show me a pressurized system without the tire.
See if you can understand this, Nathan.
Don't insult my intelligence. What I understand is that a bike tire contains pressure and has a PSI rating. What you seem to think is you can have the antithesis of that and not show it.
No, I'm trying to show it right now. I have the entire
Okay, let's bring it
chart
up, shall we? Let's show
Okay,
what you're showing.
go.
Oh, that doesn't look like a pressurized system without a container. It looks like a chart.
Well, that's because you're not even trying to understand the numbers.
I don't need to understand numbers. I need to look at a picture of a pressurized system without a container.
Kinda do.
Not
I'll go
numbers.
and highlight it for you.
Not numbers. That's not what I'm looking at.
100,000 feet.
See this bike tire? That's pretty obvious what's going on. This thing's got pressure in it. Now you're saying this is your comeback to your assertion that we have the antithesis of this?
James, you're not understanding that he's not accepting the table.
Well, that's fine, but that's not...
no, it's not fine. It's the end of your argument that we have a pressurized system without a container, because you cannot demonstrate it, James. Yeah? How long is this circle jerk asshole going to keep showing us a chart and asserting that that proves we have pressurized systems next to vacuums without containers?
I'm trying to show you how
No, you're not. Showing me would be showing me a container without the lid. You're not showing that. You're showing a chart.
I am showing that.
No, you're not. That's absolutely not what you are showing. I have got an example of a pressurized system with a container on screen right now. It's a little boy blowing up a bike tire. That is an visual example of a pressurized system with a container. I want you to now show me the antithesis of that.
I'm showing you the data on how that's not a bike tire that
not data. Not data. Show me the actual thing that has pressure without the tire.
For that, man.
The word you're looking for, Nathan, is evidence. Show us the evidence that
this is the evidence. This is the data.
Chart.
No, show it. Show where a real world example of a pressurized system.
No, what you guys are trying to do is play like some little game where this is data.
This is not a game, you complete idiot. Your assertion that you have satellites, space, NASA, all this crap needs to be confirmed by actual evidence, not a chart that says it's possible.
This chart is actually accurate, and
I couldn't give a crap. I don't even care what the chart is about. I'm going to leave this picture on screen so that it sinks into your thick skull that is not evidence.
So do you understand that the Earth?
Don't ask me what I understand. Show me a pressurized system without a container.
And
yeah, you absolutely do.
Dude,
and I'm showing you how it's not a container. You're not even giving yourself a chance to understand it.
James, can I remind you what you said earlier on about the pressure, out in your own words, the pressure in the atmosphere is caused by the weight of the atmosphere. So in your right-hand column, you've got the atmospheric pressure that you'd said earlier on was caused by the weight. Well, what happens when there's no more weight on top of it? Does it go into
the pressure goes even further down.
Right. So why is it not
so close to zero?
Right. So can you show us can you show us a piece of evidence where that is true? Like it says, or a bike tire with no tire on it.
Yeah. The evidence I would offer you are satellites in space, and you guys are not going to accept.
Sorry, that's the thing we're trying to prove the medium of. Yeah. Do you understand that by saying, oh yeah, of course we've got pressurized systems next to vacuum. Well, we've got this fantasy thing called satellites in that medium, and they prove it.
No, even just looking at this chart, going from 14 to 4 to 1, that's a lot closer than going from 1 to 0.
Sorry, show me
where's
the lid. Sorry, hold on. Just show me where the lack of lid is.
Everything on that chart above 100,000 feet is made up because there's no temperature data, and half the barometric pressure data is missing.
I agree.
So I think that is purely fictional.
James, let me add to this. You know when I say if I have 2 ice creams, you can't physically take 5 ice creams off me and leave me with -3. I want you to show me where there's a minus value in the atmosphere and show that that minus value can coexist against a pressurized part.
There's no minus values.
Is that not? I can't quite read it because it's a bit small. But doesn't that say?
Oh, those are okay. Yeah, those are just
10 to the -3. Is that what it says?
Yeah. So that would be like 0.002. If it says 2.1 times 10 to the -3, that's 0.002 pounds per square inch, which is pretty close to 0 and only about 50,000 feet higher than 20 miles.
So
this proves nothing. It doesn't show a pressurized system next to a vacuum. You're just saying it and saying, here's the numbers that prove it. It means nothing. This is garbage.
It's certainly showing 14 close to 11.
Excuse me,
4,
this is not demonstrating what I've asked for. Doesn't show it. It's just numbers. It's just numbers. It's just numbers on a chart.
Why is half the data missing at the bottom?
The temperature, I'm not sure.
So they just stopped measuring that, yet all the other things they kept on measuring.
No, I imagine it's because there's no atmosphere there.
Yeah, you imagine it. You got that right. You imagine it. That's
how would you
exactly
measure
what
the
you're
temperature?
doing.
No, Arnold, please tell me how you would measure the temperature.
Don't ask us any questions. We haven't moved past the fact that you have not demonstrated a pressurized system next to a vacuum or pressure being contained without a container. You haven't shown that. Don't ask us anything. We are not moving on until you show it.
Can't see this, but
yeah, your chart's inaccurate. It's got missing data. So let's find something else.
It's not got missing data.
Yeah. Oh right, has it not? Let's just bring it back up on screen and show this great big white hole with no data in it.
You
lying piece of crap.
You can't measure the temperature.
Don't tell me it's not got missing data. I'm circling it for the audience. Right. This is not good data. Number one.
Yes,
Number two. It does not show a pressurized system without a lid.
There's no temperature to measure. There's no atmosphere.
I don't want to hear
there.
about the figures. Okay. I want you to show me a pressurized system without a container. We are questioning the very nature of the thing that you are showing us on this chart, and you're saying the chart proves it. No, we're questioning the medium of... Stop talking over me! Okay? Shut up! We are questioning the very medium that you are using this chart to prove. Now, I want that medium to be demonstratable, i.e. showing a pressurized system without a lid.
Right.
Half the barometric pressure data is also missing, by the way.
Do you happen to know what's pulling down the gravity? I mean, pulling down the atmosphere?
Excuse me, just show me a pressurized system without a container. Don't ask me any stupid questions about your religious belief.
No, but that's the whole problem, Nathan. You know that, though.
Excuse me, I still haven't been shown a pressurized system without a bike tire around it to contain it, to give it a pressurized PSI value. Why haven't you shown that?
I want to see a picture.
We're lucky. No, but that's a good thing because we're lucky.
If I want to meet if I want to meet a girl that they tell me, oh, she's blonde, she's cute. Here's her picture, and they show me a screenshot of her about page on Facebook with the description of how she is and what she likes to eat. No, I want to see a picture of her.
Right, exactly, Jose. So what we're saying is, this guy James claims to have a girlfriend. The girlfriend is called pressurized system without a container. And we've said, can you show us this girlfriend, please? And he said, look, here's all her vital statistics. This is her bra measurement. This is how big her shoes are. This is the colour of her hair. Look, this data has been very accurately measured on my girlfriend, called pressurised system without a container. But I can't show you my girlfriend, but she's definitely
because she doesn't exist.
Yeah, because she doesn't
exist.
exist.
Have to imagine it.
I've offered to show you the picture.
Just look at all the data.
Do we have to imagine your girlfriend, do we? You got a girlfriend we've got to imagine, James. Yeah?
Here we go.
What we got
What's
now?
the problem, James? Don't you like it when the reality hits home that you've got no evidence?
Hey, there you go. He's got his girlfriend on screen. She's holding a Google sign.
Let me guess, you're going to start calling it a semantical point, right?
Oh, sorry. No. Excellent. Show us the pressurized system. Where's the pressurized system without a vacuum?
Either just trying to make an audience or keep an audience or whatever, or
excuse me, Is this going to be a pressurized system next to a vacuum? This looks
You want me to know the
distinctly
truth?
like CGI.
Whoa, that looks so real.
That looks like
Yeah,
CGI.
here's a picture of the Earth.
No, it's not. That's not a picture of the Earth. Australia doesn't have a green outline around it. What an absolute crock of crap.
Yeah.
Clown.
Excuse me, what is that?
That's what I was afraid.
What is that? Is that incandescent algae around the edge of Australia in this real, quote, real picture of Earth?
Yeah, this is a real picture of the Earth.
No, it's not. You're a dimwit. If you think this is a real picture of Earth, you're a complete buffoon. Clearly, it's not real. You've got green outlines around things. Are you a Burke? I mean, literally, are you this stupid?
Yeah, you do understand what...
Is that, yes, I am a Burke. Because this is not a real picture of anything. This is clearly, absolutely, unequivocally, CGI. Look at the state of it. Do you think continents look like that? You're a buffoon.
Yeah, what would you think those lines weren't there, Nathan?
Excuse me.
Those lines, by the way, are also on
Hold on, Arwen.
Antarctica.
When do we get this point of view?
So,
when have you had this
does it
point
make
of
any
view?
sense?
Arwen, when have you had this point of view,
Whenever
James?
you're in the satellite.
When have you had this point of view?
I don't...
Never. That's when you've had this point of view. Absolutely never. We can't get outside the container that you think doesn't have a lid.
No, we don't have money to go out there. Astronauts do.
Oh, it's all about money, is it? Oh, right. It's amazing because NASA get a huge amount of money to give us this.
It's funny how you say we
James,
can't go out there,
please concede that you don't have it. Please concede that you don't have the evidence. And say you only got data that you just accepted. Please concede that. Please say you don't have the evidence.
Yeah, I showed you data. I showed you a picture that you asked for.
Excuse me. Show me where the pressurized system next to the vacuum is on that picture. Show me where that is, because all I see is a CGI picture of something that doesn't resemble where I live in the... Oh, you're back on the graph. Sorry, put the picture back up.
I want to know which part of this graph you guys have.
Put the picture back up.
Everything
and show me
above 100,000.
Show me where... Arwen, show me where the pressurized system is. Show me where the pressurized system next to the vacuum is on that picture.
Well, first of all, I told you there's no vacuum. It's a near vacuum.
Excuse me. Show me where the containerless container is on that picture, please.
So I'll show you where it goes from point 1.
No, show me where the containerless container is. You've just brought it up as some sort of evidence of your assertion that you can have a pressurized system without a container. Now show it me. Show it me. Point it out with your mouse. You're not putting the picture back on. You're not so keen on the Himawari picture anymore. What's wrong? Wasn't that your evidence a minute ago?
No, what's that? I'm sorry, I was talking to someone.
Oh, right. You've not got enough attention span to talk to us and actually provide evidence for a pressurized system.
No, I'm showing you the same thing over and over.
Yeah, you're showing me your girlfriend's inner leg measurement rather than showing me your girlfriend.
Yeah.
Remember when I showed you my girlfriend and you said, oh, it's not real?
Excuse me, you haven't shown me anything other than a picture of Google with a woman holding a lollipop. That was a cartoon, definitely not a girl.
Is it an invisible magical container?
Oh, here we go.
There's
right,
the
now
girlfriend.
point out where the pressurized system next to the vacuum is.
Sure. What you're going to notice is that the
Where?
air
Keep moving your mouse.
above the Earth, it's very
what air?
It's very thin compared to the actual size of the Earth.
What air? What are you talking about?
Right above the Earth, like on that, we'd have to go back to the chart.
Is the
see exactly that?
According to you, the air directly under your mouse? Is that where you're saying the air is? Just underneath your mouse, where the whirly world's just appeared. Is that where you're saying it is?
Yeah, zoom in, Kosher. Make it closer.
Yeah, make it bigger. Let's
I
see
don't
this
think
air.
you can zoom in with this one. Let me see.
It's on the top left, top right. Look, it's got there. Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
You're showing me the makeup first. I want to see the girlfriend.
Do you think girlfriend closer?
I got a picture of James's girlfriend.
Can I ask? Do you
Why
think
don't we go backwards in time?
Can I ask?
James' girlfriend. Look.
Hello. Do you think
What's going on?
New Zealand is accurately represented by the lines? Scroll down a bit so that you pull the picture up.
Yeah, you guys do understand what the purpose of those lines are, right?
Just
it's not
do
to
it.
fool anybody.
Sorry, we don't care. We just want to know where the pressurized system next to the vacuum starts and ends and showing it us. Because all I see at the moment is clouds that are seemingly next to a vacuum of space. So I'm a bit confused as to why the clouds don't get sucked off this apparent ball Earth. What's going on?
I know. I can tell that you're a little bit confused about it, so I'm going to explain it.
Yeah, I am. Great. How do the clouds not get sucked off? Hold on, I've got a specific question about this picture. You've got clouds, and apparently this black area right next to this cloud here, right, that black area is apparently a much, much lower pressurized system. So considerably lower pressure. So what's going on? Why isn't entropy taking effect?
Why do you say it's a lower pressure? Oh, you're talking about the space. Okay.
Oh, yeah, the vacuum that we've been talking about. Yes, that's right. Oh, God, yeah. How does that cloud stay on the Earth when there's a much lower pressure next to it?
Yeah, so I know you guys remember that chart that I showed you.
No, I know. I'm just asking, with this picture on screen, explain to me why the clouds aren't getting sucked off the planet.
Sure. So at about 50, I think it is 50 kilometers up, the PSI is about 0.002, which is very close to zero, if you didn't notice. And as you get closer to the surface, it turns to 1 PSI, then 4 at Mount Everest, 11 in Colorado, and 14 here at sea level. So
that's fascinating. So what about where it's a considerably lower pressure system, i.e. a near vacuum?
Well, that's a good question.
Yeah, that is our question. That's a very good question. How does this vacuum, considerably lower pressure, not suck off the clouds?
Yeah, so we went from 0.14 to 0.002.
Did we? I don't see any of that. I just see a picture of CGI with clouds next to a vacuum. What gives?
Well, the clouds are being
I tell you
held
what,
down
I'll
by
show you
gravity.
some picture of real clouds. That's real clouds. According to you, beyond these clouds on the picture now, there's a vacuum that's not sucking them off it. What gives? Why is it that these clouds don't look like your clouds?
Why would the vacuum be sucking it off?
Entropy.
Entropy, precisely.
Yeah, what do you think is a stronger force?
Sorry, just do you understand the word that's just been said? You asked a direct question. You got an answer. You've not even acknowledged it. Do you know what entropy is?
Yes, I do.
Explain it. Explain to me and the audience what entropy is.
Entropy is the natural inclination for things to dissipate over time. And so they're not...
Dissipate in what respect? Maybe from high pressure to low pressure systems, for instance?
No, just from...
Not... So, sorry, did you say no? So you wouldn't have entropy from high to low pressure systems?
Well, it depends on what the system was.
Yeah, this is the system. We're talking about Earth. And I'm asking, does Earth defy the laws of entropy? And you're saying, no, it depends on the system. Entropy only applies sometimes, right? Is that what you're saying?
This system depends on gravity. Same thing as
not so entropy doesn't apply.
Star.
Sorry. Did the laws of gravity defy entropy?
The laws of gravity are working against this entropy. So instead of these
do they
gases,
defy it completely?
No, it doesn't.
Oh, so we do still have entropy. Excellent. So we have entropy. So we have things going from high pressure systems to low pressure systems. And on screen, we have, hold on, we have a high pressure system in the form of your bullshit ball Earth that you believe you live on, next to a vacuum of space. So entropy is going to happen. Why isn't it?
Because the force of the vacuum, which is non-existent, is much lower than the force of gravity, which is very strong on the Earth.
What? That's a lie. That's even a lie according to the body of science.
Yeah? How?
Yeah, that's a direct lie. Gravity is supposed to be a weak force. Well, guess what? Pressure is one of the strongest forces.
Okay.
Yeah.
Listen, gravity.
You're a liar.
Gravity
You're
is infinitely stronger. Gravity is infinitely stronger than a force that has zero energy. Vacuums have zero energy.
Nathan, do we want to go to
this is like Star Wars forces,
or do we want to stick with this because this is going nowhere?
Just
good luck, you guys. You have the chart. I saved it in there. Check it out later.
You're a liar, James.
No.
Really? What energy does a vacuum have, Arwen?
No, he's just ignorant.
Really? What energy does a vacuum have? Please tell me.
Hanlon's razor.
Even according to his own body of science lore, he just told a direct
Yeah, sure.
lie.
What energy does a vacuum have? I'm curious.
Gravity is supposed to be a weak force. Pressure is one of the stronger forces. What you said was a direct lie.
Look at the torque value of the vacuum of space and then compare it to a pressure differential of, say, what are those big, what they call those train things that collapse when you put them into a vacuum. If it's strong enough to collapse one of those train carts, you can guess it's pretty strong.
Well, so guess what? You guys just proved my point. Do you know what's actually crushing that train cart?
Yeah, the differential.
Well, it's the force of the atmosphere, which is being held down by gravity. It has nothing to do with the vacuum. It has to do with the actual PSI of
it's directly to do with the differential. It's not to do with, well, gravity. Because A, you can't even prove gravity, and B, you couldn't prove causation. The cause is the differential.
Yeah, the cause is the pressure of the whatever, it's 14 psi.
Oh, so the cause and the effect are the same thing. They're all gravity. Everything's gravity. It's just magical, really, isn't it? It's simultaneously both cause and effect. It's amazing.
It's holding down the atmosphere, though.
And it's affecting it. Oh, so it's both cause and effect all at the same time. Amazing, this gravity stuff.
No, how is it the effect?
How you tell me?
Complete nonsense. Even
you tell me. So sorry, it's not affecting the atmosphere. Sorry, it's not affecting the atmosphere.
It's very much affecting the atmosphere.
Oh, right. So why did you ask me that question? Are you a complete Dumbo? It seems so. You double-speaking asshole.
It's $1 million question.
Yeah, where's the pressurized system next to a vacuum? That's the $1 million question. You still haven't shown us any examples of a pressurized system next to a vacuum. Anyway, we've got John. He's got his observed phenomena up. So let's go through gravity. You say gravity is the cause of the pressurized system next to the non-vacuum.
Just before John does speak, Nathan, just be aware that George wants to join, but there's no space for him to join. So if you get cheesed off, just let us know when you're going to kick James, and then we can get George to start trying to get to join in.
No, I'll jump off. I'll let
if you guys want me to. I can step out whenever you guys need me to.
While that's going on, I'll round out for a quick break then in that case, because yeah, we're just over the hour mark. So I think with that, I'll probably say a massive thank you first and foremost to all of the live audience for tuning in and hopefully sharing this debate. And of course, a massive thank you to all of the debating panel for making this debate possible. If you hated the show, you know exactly what to do. But if you like the show, maybe consider sharing it with a friend or subscribing if you have not done so already. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!